SLT Mobitel Fiber, the fiber of the nation. SLT Mobitel Fiber, the fiber of the nation.
Surf Excel නම් භාගයයි මාසයකට වඩා රිදි සෝදායි.
Tonight, never say never. South African researchers announced the discovery of a new variant.
Many of the mutations we see in this C.1.2 are the same mutations we've seen in some of the other variants of concern.
As Sri Lankan health authorities say, it's not impossible for the beta variant to already be here. Big targets. The SPC chairman says that 63% of over 18s can be fully vaccinated in the next few days. Unnecessary moves. TNA MP takes aim at the state of emergency on food supplies.
There was no danger of essential food supplies being disrupted to the community as at present. This can lead to a state of repression in the country.
Breaking boundaries. The all-share price index makes market history after surpassing the magic 9,000 mark at today's close. All that and much more coming up on First at 9. This Wednesday, the 1st of September, 2021.
දසනකාන්තී චූර්ණය සහිත ලීවර් ආයුෂ් දන්තාලේපය දත්වල ඇති ප්‍රශ්න 10ක් වළකයි.
From AdaDerana, this is AdaDerana First at 9. Live from Studio 24 in Colombo.
Good evening and welcome to First at 9. I'm Dhammike Kanaka. Now then, just as the world is beginning to wrap its head around the Delta variant, scientists in South Africa have announced that a new player may have entered the game. With the beta variant having rampaged through the country, a new variant has now emerged and has been named C1.2. Meanwhile, Dr. Hemantha Herath of the Ministry of Health says that we shouldn't really rule out the beta variant being in Sri Lanka already. South African scientists have detected another variant of COVID-19 with multiple mutations. This new variant, which is known as C1.2, was first detected in May and has now spread to most South African provinces and few other countries in Africa, Europe, Asia and Oceania regions. However, this variant is said to be different from the beta variant, which was initially detected from South Africa.
The exact threat from this variant, we don't really know yet. We're not at the stage of fully understanding that. The reason we were worried about the kind of combination of mutations was that many of the mutations we see in this C.1.2 are the same mutations we've seen in some of the other variants of concern, particularly the beta and the alpha and the gamma. But it's in a different combination. The two main things that we're worried about are that it could have enhanced transmissibility, so it could spread more efficiently from person to person, and it could, like some of the other variants, it could partially get around some of the immune response, either from a previous infection or from vaccination.
Only one virus variant identified in South Africa has made it into the WHO's list of variants of concern. Identified as beta, it is also highly transmissible in nature. At the media briefing held by the Health Promotion Bureau this afternoon, the health experts were also quizzed on the beta variant's presence in Sri Lanka.
හැබැයි අපි දන්නේ නැහැ මේ ලෝකේ පුරා ජනතාව එහාට මෙහාට යන වේගයට ඕනම මොහොතක එන්න බැරි කමක් නැහැ. අපි ඒකට සූදානමින් තමයි අවශ්‍ය කරන සියලු වැඩසටහන් අපි ක්‍රියාත්මක කරන්නේ. ඩෙල්ටා එක පැමිණෙන්න කලින් අපි ලෑස්ති වුණා වගේම තමයි මේකටත් අපි මුණ දෙන්න අවශ්‍ය කරන දේවල් අපි දැනටමත් ලෑස්ති වෙලා තියෙනවා.
Meanwhile, though the country is under a lockdown, the daily caseload has been above 4,000 in recent weeks. With that being the case, the expert view is that the individual responsibility continues to play the most crucial role in bringing the pandemic under control. In that context, the imposition of a lockdown is pointless if people aren't disciplined.
රට වසා තැබීමෙන් මේ ප්‍රශ්නේ විසඳන්න අමාරුයි. රට වසා දැම්මට වැඩක් නැහැ. මිනිස්සු මේකට අනුගත වෙන්නේ නැත්තම්. තමන්නාන්සලටම පේනවා කොයිතරම් වාහන මේ වෙලාවේ එළියේ යනවද කියලා. අපිට ඕන කරන්නේ රට වසා දැමීම නෙවෙයි. අවශ්‍ය වන්නේ ජනතාව චර්යා රටාවන් වැඩි දියුණු කර ගැනීම. රට වසා දැමීමෙන් හෝ සංචරණ සීමා ඇති කිරීමෙන් යම්කිසි පහසුවක් ඇති කරගන්න පුළුවන්. ඒ ක්‍රියාවලිය තමයි මෙහිදී අපි දකින්නේ. මේකට නිසි ප්‍රතිඵල ලබා ගන්න මම කිව්වේ බීජ ඖෂධ සවම දෙකක් විතර ගත වෙන්න ඕනේ. අපි ඒ කාල සීමාව තුළ අපි මේක ඉදිරියට පවත්වාගෙන ගියොත් හොඳ ප්‍රතිඵල ලබා ගන්න පුළුවන් වෙයි.
State Minister of COVID Disease Control, Dr. Sudarshini Fernandopoulos, meanwhile, gave her own view on the lockdown, saying that she would prefer to see it being extended by a further 1 or 2 weeks, as the daily caseload has not reduced much. She also called on people to be more disciplined and said that other countries which reverted to lockdowns have not yielded positive results. In the meantime, health experts also urge people to abstain from smoking and liquor consumption in the backdrop of the pandemic, saying it's a deadly mix.
මේක ඩෙඩ්ලි කම්බිනේෂන් එකක්. දුම් ඉරීමයි COVID-19යි. දැන් COVID-19 රෝගයෙන් වළකින්න දුම් බොනවා නම් මත් වතුර බොනවා නම් එයින් මිදීම අත්‍යවශ්‍යයි මේ මාරාන්තික එකතු වීමෙන් වැළකින්න. COVID හැදිලා හොඳ වෙන අය සහ මරණයට පත් වෙන අය බැලුවාම දුම් බොන කෙනෙක් නම් COVID හැදිලා මරණයට පත් වෙන්න තියෙන සම්භාව්‍යතාවය ඊටාම් වැඩි. මත් වතුර බොන කෙනෙක් නම් COVID-19 වැළඳුනොත් මරණයට පත්වීමේ ඇති සම්භාවිතාවය ඊටාම වැඩි. සමස්ත මරණ වලින් 60%ක් විතර පිරිමි 40%ක් විතර තමයි කාන්තාව. එතකොට 120ක් විතර මේ පිරිමි අය මරණයට පත්වීමේ සම්භාවිතාවය වැඩි කාන්තාව එක්ක බලනකොට. අපේ රටේ දුම් ඉරීම බැලුවත් පිරිමි කට්ටිය දුම් ඉරීමේ සම්භාවිතාවය බොහෝ වැඩි කාන්තාවන්ට වැඩිය. කාන්තාවෝන්ගේ සම්භාවිතාවය මේ රටේ දුම් නොඋරන තරම් 0.04ක් විතර ප්‍රමාණයක් තමයි. හැබැයි ඛේදවාචකයේ තමයි අක්‍රීය දුම්පානයට මේ රටේ කාන්තාවෝ 5න් 1ක් 122ක් ගොදුරු වෙන්නේ තමන්ගේ නිවස තුලදී 11ක් අක්‍රීය දුම්පානයට කාන්තාවෝ ගොදුරු වෙන්නේ තමන්ගේ රාජකාරී කරන තැනදී.
Pulse oximeters have become a popular topic of discussion, with the demand for the device suddenly rocketing as health authorities recommend it for home use in this COVID backdrop. But issues have arisen, with videos circulating on social media showing some devices responding to pens and other objects. The Consumer Affairs Authority also seized over 200 substandard devices last week. With all this happening, the Ministry of Health today gave a comprehensive explanation on how to spot a fake device and how to use it properly. Until recently, Sri Lankan masses were not acquainted with a device known as a pulse oximeter. What the device does is measure the oxygen saturation levels in the blood. It especially comes in handy in the backdrop of the spread of COVID-19. Experts urge people to use the device at home so people can ascertain when they need hospital care without waiting for the condition to deteriorate. Since then, oximeter sales have gone up. But last week, the Consumer Affairs Authority conducted raids in the Galle district and found 250 substandard pulse oximeters. The message to the consumer was that some devices available in the market are fake. The Pharmaceutical Traders Association of Sri Lanka today washed their hands off of any responsibility in this matter, saying that they assumed that the due process was followed when the products came to the market.
There is a procedure. If you want to import anything related to the health, you have to get approval from NMRA. Otherwise, custom won't clear the stuff. Those will be seized. So that has been safely come to the market. That means we think that it is legally cleared and legal. We don't know who are related to the pharmaceutical field. They do know what are difficult to do, get things from overseas. So we think that they have gone through all this scenario and get down the product. They are locally okay. NMRA also kept quiet till this people came and did a raid, and then they said that is illegal and fake. Is responsible of the government and the NMRA to clear this and give a correct idea and the correct decision to the public.
The Health Ministry, however, is of the view that there could be substandard products making their way to the market and therefore urges people to be vigilant. During a media briefing today, Deputy Director General of Biomedical Engineering Services at the Ministry of Health, S.A.J. Karunatilaka, explained how a fake pulse oximeter can be identified before purchase.
පල්ස් ඔක්සිමීටර් එකකට අපි ඉස්සෙල්ලාම දැන් ගොඩක් කියන්නේ පෑනට පැන්සලට වැඩ කරනවා කියලානේ. ඒක දාලා මේක ඕන් කරලා බලන්න. බලනකොට මේකේ අගයක් පෙන්නනවා නම් අනිවාර්යෙන් මේක ෆේක් එකක්. ඒක තමයි පළවෙනි ස්ටෙප් එක. දෙවෙනි එක තමයි මේ ඩිස්ප්ලේ එක දිහා බලනකොට මේකේ ඔක්සිජන් සැචුරේෂන් මෙච්චරයි කියලා යම්කිසි අගයක් පමණක් පෙන්නනවා නම් ඒක ෆේක් එකක්. ඔරිජිනල් එක හැම වෙලාවෙම මේකේ අර බාර් ග්‍රාෆ් එකක් තියෙනවා. ඊළඟට තව වේව් එකක් තියෙනවා. ඒ ටික තියෙන්න ඕනේ. ඒක දෙවෙනි එක. දැන් මේ දෙක තිබුණා කියලත් ඒක ෆේක් එකක් වෙන්න පුළුවන්. තුන්වෙනි ස්ටෙප් එක තමයි මේකට ඇඟිල්ල දාලා අපිට බලන්න පුළුවන් වැලියු එකක් එනවද කියලා. ඊට පස්සේ මේ ඇඟිල්ල අපි අයින් කරනකොට මේකේ වැටෙනවනේ ෆින්ගර් අවුට් කියලා. ඒක තමයි තුන්වෙනි ස්ටෙප් එක. ඊට අමතරව හතරවෙනි ස්ටෙප් එක විදිහට බලන්න පුළුවන්. අපි මෙහෙම ඇඟිල්ල දාලා ඊට පස්සේ අපිට පුළුවන් එක රෙදි කෑල්ලක් නැත්නම් රබර් පටියක් වගේ දෙයක් අරගෙන මෙතනින් තද කරලා බ්ලඩ් සප්ලයි එක නතර කරන්න. එහෙම නැත්නම් තව පහසු ක්‍රමයක් තියෙනවා. මෙතනිනුත් අපිට තද කරලා පුළුවන්. එහෙම කරනකොට මේකේ පාඨාංකය නැති වෙලා ගිහිල්ලා ඉරි දෙකක් විතරක් එන්න ඕනේ. මේ තියෙන්නේ පොඩි ෆින්ගර් ටිප් ටයිප්. හැබැයි ඒවා ප්‍රොෆෙෂනල් නෙමෙයි. මේක සාමාන්‍ය මාකට් එකේ රුපියල් 2500 ඉඳලා 8500 9000 වගේ රේන්ජ් එක මේකේ තියෙනවා.
He then gave a step-by-step explanation on the correct usage of the device.
මුලින්ම අතර විනාඩි 5ක් විතර නිශ්චලව ඉන්න ඕනේ පොඩ්ඩක් ස්ටේබල් වෙන්න. ඉඳලා ඊට පස්සේ මේකේ පළවෙනි රීඩින් එක ඇත්ත වශයෙන් ගන්න එපා. මේක ටිකක් වෙලා විනාඩියක් විතර තියාගෙන ඉන්න ඕනේ. එතකොට මේක අගයන් එහෙම වෙනස් වෙලා ස්ථාවර වෙනවා ගියා. අන්නේ අගය තමයි ගන්න ඕනේ. ඊට අමතරව විශේෂයෙන්ම මේ කාන්තාවන්ගේ නියපොතු පාට කරලා තියෙනවා නම් ඊළඟට සමහර අය අර ෆේක් නේල්ස් දාලා තියෙනවා. අර ඒ වගේ අවස්ථාවක මේක රීඩින් එක වරදින්න පුළුවන්. ඊට අමතරව විශේෂයෙන්ම මේක සෙලවීමකට ඔරොත්තු දෙන්නේ නැහැ. ඊට අමතරව ගොඩාක් වෙලාවට මේ තද පාට හමක් තියෙන ගොරෝසු හමක් තියෙන කෙනෙකුගේ සමහර ලාවට මේ රීඩින් එක වරදින්න පුළුවන්.
Moving on with the pandemic situation now, the chairman of State Pharmaceuticals Corporation, Dr. Prasanna Gunasena, says that about 62% to 63% of the country's population above the age of 18 can be vaccinated within the next few days. In the meantime, over 500,000 vaccine doses were administered once again by the country's health sector, making the government's vaccination targets all the more achievable now.
Continuing its record 500,000 daily vaccinations, the health sector carried out 511,142 yesterday as well. This is the second consecutive day of 500,000 plus daily vaccinations. Once again, the Sinopharm vaccine headed the list of the most widely administered vaccines. In the breakdown, 442,237 Sinopharm doses were administered as second doses, while 41,166 first doses were given out. In addition, 4,018 people were inoculated with the first dose of the AstraZeneca vaccine, while 485 received their second. Meanwhile, 17 people were given their first Pfizer vaccine doses, while 1,645 people obtained their second. Meanwhile, the Moderna jab was administered to 169 people as first doses, while a further 21,405 people received their second. Meanwhile, as of last evening, 12,468,949 first doses have been administered so far. Of this number, 8,169,232 people have already received their second doses. This leaves 4,299,717 more second doses left to be given out.
ශ්‍රී ලංකාවේ අවුරුදු 18 වැඩි ජනගහනය මේ මොහොත වෙනකොට අපි 80%කට ප්‍රථම මාත්‍රාව ලබා දීලා තියෙනවා 52%කට දෙවෙනි මාත්‍රාව ලබා දීලා තියෙනවා ශ්‍රී ලංකාවේ ජනගහනයෙන් මම කියන්නේ 18ට වඩා වැඩි ජනගහනයෙන් 62ක 63ක පමණ ප්‍රමාණයක් අපිට මේ මාසයේ ඉතුරු දවස් කිහිපය ඇතුළතදී ලබා දුන්නොත් එන්නත් අපිට සම්පූර්ණ කරගන්න පුළුවන්.
In the meantime, health experts are once again urging the public to take full advantage of mobile vaccination services currently underway that are targeting the elderly who are unable to travel to vaccination centres.
Even though we have completed in most places the targeted vaccination to the maximum, there are certain people who have not received or obtained the vaccine up to now. And out of them, majority are either suffering from chronic disease or debilitating diseases or in their extreme of age. And therefore, these people are more vulnerable. And I would like to urge the public to make sure that everyone who are vulnerable to this disease need to get this vaccination. At the moment, utilize the home care services that we are providing or bring the patients to the nearest vaccination center and get the vaccination to avoid the bad outcome that we are experiencing at the moment.
Ilangai Tamil Arasu Katchi parliamentarian M.A. Sumandaran hit out at yesterday's declaration of a state of emergency to prevent essential supply shortages, saying that this would open the door to repression and the misuse of presidential powers. Sumandaran also stated that Sri Lanka will not face any shortages of essential supplies.
Yesterday's declaration of a state of emergency over expected shortages of essential food supplies seeks to prevent any hoarding of sugar, rice and other essential foods. The move followed sharp increases in prices of sugar, rice, onions and potatoes, while long queues were seen outside stores due to shortages of milk powder, kerosene oil and LP gas. President Gotabaya Rajapaksa meanwhile also announced the appointment of a Commissioner General of Essential Services yesterday to oversee the program as well. However, ITAC MP M.A. Sumantiran took to social media today to decry the President's move under Part 2 of the Public Security Ordinance, which he says will lead to a state of repression in the country. The ITAC parliamentarian also rejected that Sri Lanka is in danger of running short of essential food supplies.
The President has declared a state of emergency throughout the country from midnight yesterday by bringing into operation Part 2 of the Public Security Ordinance. Now, this is an unwarranted act. This can lead to a state of repression in the country. This is the reason why we have been saying that you must have a separate law for public health emergency. Although Parliament has been in existence for over a year, this has not been done by the government. Even when a private member's bill was introduced, although recently they said they will take that and pass it, government has chosen to go the Public Security Ordinance route. This spells a great danger to the country because after this it will be President's rule by himself making regulations under the Public Security Ordinance, emergency regulations, and that will surpass considerations of health or even food supplies to the community. In any case, there was no danger of essential food supplies being disrupted to the community as at present.
The government is set to impose price controls on rice and sugar from tomorrow. This was confirmed by State Minister of Cooperative Services, Marketing Development and Consumer Protection, Lasantha Alagewana, today. Addressing a media briefing, he explained that the government intends to provide essential products, especially rice and sugar, to the consumers at reasonable prices. Speaking further, the State Minister said the large volumes of sugar seized stashed away in warehouses will also be sold through Sathasa and cooperative outlets. We will see you shortly. Bear with us.
Big 3.
Welcome back. You're watching First at 9. Now, Indian intelligence has unearthed possible evidence of attempts by pro-LTTE groups to resurrect the terror outfit using profits from drug smuggling. This was uncovered after the seizure of a fishing vessel in March last year by India's Coast Guard, carrying a large stock of heroin and assault weapons that led to the arrest of a Sri Lankan suspect living in Chennai, who has close links to other LTTE operatives currently being monitored by Indian intelligence.
An Indian media outlet has reported that investigations into the Indian Coast Guard's interception of a trawler in March this year may have provided clues to suggest a resurgence of the LTTE terror group in South India and Sri Lanka, funded through an international drug and weapons smuggling operation. The boat, when taken into custody at the time, was found to have 300 kilograms of heroin, 5 AK-47 assault rifles and 1,000 rounds of 9mm ammunition on board. Further, 6 Sri Lankan boat crew were taken into custody at the time. However, it was later revealed that they were only pawns in a much larger game at hand. Subsequent investigations by the Indian Narcotics Bureau, meanwhile, identified a Sri Lankan Tamil suspect named Suresh Rajan, a resident of Colombo, who had been domiciled in Chennai for some time. Last month, the Tamil Nadu Q branch finally tracked down and arrested Rajan for his alleged links to pro-LTTE groups active in the Indian state and in Sri Lanka as well. However, just as the Narcotics Control Bureau was about to charge sheet the 6 suspects, the plot thickened as India's National Intelligence Agency had claimed jurisdiction over the investigation and carried out further probes. During the NIA probes, evidence was uncovered of a Thuraya satellite phone that had been used by the suspects to communicate with handlers in Dubai. This evidence provided vital information that led to the arrest of Suresh Rajan and another associate identified as Soundara Rajan. A subsequent search of premises connected to Rajan had unearthed further evidence of his LTTE leanings, consisting of documents, literature, and several electronic devices along with SIM cards. According to reports, analysis of the devices had also uncovered audio recordings of statements threatening harm against Sri Lankan military personnel on behalf of the LTTE. According to the media report, the interrogation of Rajan had yielded further evidence, including financial transactions running into tens of millions of Indian rupees using Hawala channels between him and noted Pakistani drug racketeer Haji Salim in Dubai, which was used to procure arms, ammunition and drugs. An Indian official also told the media outlet that he suspects that Rajan, who maintained close links with suspects being monitored for LTTE links, was most likely using drug profits to finance a resurgence of the group, and that the weapons taken into custody may have been intended for LTTE sleeper cells. Indian investigators are also probing 2 other boat seizures, with one intercepted after the March incident, which resulted in 120 kilograms of heroin and 5 weapons taken into custody.
MP Rishad Badiuddin, who is in custody over the 2019 Easter Sunday terror attacks, was further remanded today until the 7th of September. The former minister and his brother were arrested on the 24th of April for allegedly aiding and abetting the suicide bombers who perpetrated the deadly bombings. They were initially interrogated under a 72-hour detention order obtained by the CID under the Prevention of Terrorism Act's Article 6, subsection 1. However, a subsequent 90-day detention order was obtained pursuant to Article 9, subsection 1 of the PTA as the authorities needed to further interrogate the duo. A special 3-member trial at bar has been appointed to hear the case regarding the 2019 Easter Sunday terror attacks. The Chief Justice has appointed the special bench, which will be chaired by High Court Judge Damit Totawatha. Justices Amal Ranaraja and Navaratna Marasinghe are the other members of the bench. His Eminence Archbishop Brian Udaigwe, Apostolic Nuncio to Sri Lanka, has paid a courtesy call on Foreign Minister Professor G.L. Pires yesterday at the ministry. During the meeting, the Foreign Minister had expressed deep sorrow over the horrendous Easter Sunday terror attacks and the great deal of pain and suffering undergone by the Catholic Church, and his understanding of the sentiments of the Catholic Church and the need for justice to bring all those who were responsible before the law. Alluding to the sensitive nature of the ongoing investigation, the minister had emphasised the need to have an informed discussion with Archbishop of Colombo, His Eminence Malcolm Cardinal Ranjith, and the Catholic Bishops' Conference at the earliest. The minister had drawn attention to certain groups who are trying to exploit the situation for their own purposes, which he asserted were contrary to the genuine motives of the Catholic Church. The minister had remarked that every endeavour should be made to ensure that the purest motives of the Catholic Church are not hijacked either locally or internationally. While expressing his sincere appreciation for the attention being received to the Catholic Church and Catholics in Sri Lanka, though they are a minority, the papal nuncio indicated that he has not witnessed similar recognition given to Catholics in other countries. The Apostolic Nuncio suggested that a meeting could be arranged at an early date with a committee of the Bishops' Conference so that the government could discuss the relevant issues with the representatives of the Church. We will see you once more on the other side of this break. Stay with us. Welcome back. This is First at 9. Now, business confidence in the month of August was reported to have improved with an LMD Nielsen IQ index score of 98 after an 11-point improvement. However, the survey report says that this could take a hit in September due to rising cases of COVID-19 throughout the country and a prolonged lockdown.
The latest LMD Nielsen IQ Business Confidence Index survey suggests that business sentiment has improved in August, although the survey was carried out in the first week of August when the island-wide immunization campaign was at its peak, while COVID-19 cases and fatalities have spiraled upwards since then. With that, the BCI recorded an increase of 11 basis points to 98 in August, its highest point since April. Despite this, however, the index remains below its 12-month average of 106 and 19 points shy of where it stood a year ago when the government swept the general elections. Nielsen's Director Consumer Insights, Terika Mianadenia, says that the positivity at the end of July was mainly due to signs of the pandemic calming down. However, the economy right now isn't doing well, with overall year-on-year inflation reaching 6.1% in June, driven by food inflation, which may impact end consumers. Mianadenia predicts that business confidence is unlikely to fare well in September due to the onset of a fourth wave with an increasing death rate and new cases, shortages of gas, milk and sugar, and the announcement of a nationwide lockdown. She adds that due to this, the index could very well lose whatever gains it made last month and end up back at square one.
Now then, to take a look at the Colombo bourse, Sri Lankan shares closed at an all-time high today, helped by industrial companies and a surge in conglomerate Expo Lanka. The CSE All-Share Price Index ended up 1.84% to reach 9,163.13 points, surging 10.8% in August, its best monthly gain since January. Meanwhile, the S&P SL20 index of more liquid stocks gained 75.91 points to close at 3,440.50 points. Now here's Dimantha Matthew with a brief report on today's market performance.
The market managed to cross the 9,000 mark for the fourth consecutive occasion, but this time today managed to close above the 9,000 mark for the first time ever. So today the market was extremely bullish and was up by 165 points, and a lot of turnover to be backed by that. So today also we are recognizing turnover of 14.6 billion to be exact, and the number of transactions very high at 66,000 transactions during the day. The usual retail favorite counters were the top turnover list. Again, it's transportation sector leading the way, and next in line we are seeing the capital goods sector taking a big portion of revenue. So few stocks in that segment have been noted. We are seeing again a rally on the dollar income companies, with the dollar further depreciating and the reference rates now coming off. Basically there is a more positive attitude and a high level of buying pressure into these counters as these set of counters further increase in the value.
Now, the Sri Lankan rupee has appreciated to 203.87 cents against the US dollar, according to the central bank daily buy and sell exchange rate posted today. Now, let's take a look at how the Sri Lankan rupee fared against other major currencies during the day. And that's it from all of us here at First at 9. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.